Welcome to Get Moving TV. As you all know, I love Ventura Adult Continuing Education, community education. And really what happens here, they have so much in the way of classwork, but we need students coming in as well, and we need employers to know about the incredible quality of students that are here. So today I have Kay Miller with us today. Kay, what's your job here at VACE?
I'm the placement director. So as our students progress through their various career technical education programs, I help them with their resumes, prepare them for their job search, that all-important interview. We hold workshops, and then I do a lot of one-on-one counseling with our students so they're ready to go when they graduate.
Well, a lot of what I do when I go to Rotary meetings, where I really just talk about this place and really try and send as many employers this way. Is there anything outside this building that kind of attracts people as they go by on the freeway?
Well, the freeway frontage is really helpful. We are available in Ventura. People can stop in, visit. They hear about us from their friends, their family, from other graduates. Word of mouth is great. Employers promote us as well because they know the quality of students that we have here.
I think just being here, as I've been for whatever, 10 years or so, and we see kids come in and they're pierced and they don't show up on time. And by the time they're done, they're well-dressed, well-mannered, know to show up on time. They've taken test after test after test, and really have a different attitude as they come out. But the word of mouth, I think one person ends up talking to 60. So it's just an incredible currency that you have here in the community. What are some of the classes here, and how would somebody who came here pay for their education?
Well, we have 7 major program areas, everything from accounting and business, graphics, digital multimedia and studio production, IT, drafting. We have something for most of our students out there, medical assisting. And so a prospective student can come and visit. They can check out their classroom. And we have federal financial aid available, as well as scholarships. Our programs are accessible really for any adult who wants to get the training necessary to launch their career.
Kay, thank you so much. I'm very eager because we have some potential employers who are going to be talking next. And I really want them to understand, as the way that you just put it, what is available here. So Ventura, we're going to get moving and find one of these local employers right this minute. Ventura, welcome back. We have an innovation center, if you don't know about it, in Camarillo, California, the Faro Center for Innovation. It's at the Ventura County Community Foundation office. There's gatherings of engineers, of entrepreneurs, of kids with yellow pads and trying to figure out the next innovation. But what happens is when you have a place like that, it's a melting pot. And I had the advantage of meeting Paul Shrater there, and he said some things kind of off the side that really caught my attention about helping with jobs here in Ventura County and having all these ideas and nobody to really quite bring them to fruition. But how did you start in business there? I know we'll get to Minimus here in a second.
I went to the Wharton School for business, focused on entrepreneurship, ended up in the film and television industry, which I really wanted to do. It's very entrepreneurial. You're sort of running a little business, doing a movie or a TV show. So I did that for 9 years in offices on the studio lot and sold a script for $1 million and did that whole thing. And then my family had an idea for a business and thought it would be fun to just try out something on the side and see what happens. Got a little 500 square foot office, 4 shelves, no employees, just a computer and me while I was still doing my thing. And 3 months later, we had a 10,000 square foot warehouse and 5 employees, and I changed careers.
So since I kind of know how that started, I have been the one in charge of bringing the giant cooler with the giant things of mayonnaise and ketchup as we go on a picnic somewhere. And so what was the inspiration for your business that started with 4 shelves and a computer?
Sure, it was, I actually was busy, I couldn't go on the trip, but my parents, sister, and brother-in-law rented a cabin in New Hampshire. and everybody had their favorite cereal, their favorite barbecue sauce, and at the end of the trip, people were flying home. They said, it's a shame we got to throw these full-size products away. Wouldn't it be great if you could go online and buy your favorites in miniature size? And it was 2004. People were finally trusting putting their credit cards online. E-commerce was becoming a thing. The dot-com bubble had burst, and I said, well, if we actually can do a business where it's real product, get out there, carve out the niche early, maybe there's something here, and let's not just do foods, let's do travel-sized toiletries. People love those. Really do everything miniature.
Well, one of the, as we were sitting there talking, I'm trying to figure out how I can connect you with everybody, including VACE. We have a place to have people come and interview and so forth. We have this book, The Doctors and Hospitals Rules for Survival, and well, let me see the book, fine. And so a couple of weeks later, you'd actually read the book, and we have Rule 51, and Rule 51 are the things that you wish you had brought to the hospital. And dental floss. Oh yeah, I need $10 so somebody could sneak down to the gift shop and get me a couple candy bars, and I need a flashlight, and I need some glasses because I can read, and a charger for my phone. And so I gave you the list, and Lauren from your department says, okay, we can do that, and she put together our pack. And so now the next part is, how do you market all that stuff? So just putting our book on Amazon.com, I think we just doubled our sales to 4. And that's just because, I told people they better buy the book or die, which is what happens. I mean, if 2 perfectly good 747s fall out of the sky every day, people would pay attention, but that's how many people die in hospitals and under the care of doctors every day. And we want to stop that. There has to be something. And so when I talked to you about it, you said, oh, yeah, I do that for pregnant women, and you have a baby shower, and you need, what goes in your baby shower pack that you pull off all the shelves and pick items?
Yeah, so because we carry all those travel-sized toiletries in our warehouse, we also do it wholesale, and we have a whole department, like you mentioned, that does kitting. So we take those different items, or even items brought by clients, because we have a whole fulfillment division that does warehousing fulfillment for other brands. But we can take those different products or source them, because we have a whole sourcing department, being an e-commerce company, and put them into a kit, logo the kit, and develop something that goes along with the book, which I liked. I had read an article about that same topic several months ago, so it was really cool to see somebody who kind of captured that idea in a book, and then to be able to make a product that goes with it that can help people is always nice.
So we'll be working on geofencing, Cedar Sinai, so every time you walk in on Facebook, I'll pop the book. And so we'll be working on different campaigns with our young friend Christopher Roberts. So they'll interact with your staff, but you'd also at the table at the Innovation Center said, I have ideas all the time, and I don't have time to pursue all the crazy things that come out of my head. So how would someone start out as an entrepreneur? How do they start out with a crazy idea, knowing what you have? And how many people work for you now? It's just trying to add up even your IT people probably.
Yeah, a bunch of questions. Yeah, there. So the thing that in terms of employers and being a young entrepreneur, there's a lot of interesting things happening in Ventura County, which I was unaware of for many years and got brought into. And then you meet some people which introduce you to others. And then 805 Startups is one of them, the Pharos Center. You see a lot of entrepreneurs are coming and finding out about those resources, and then there's other businesses and people who are wanting to give back to the community or connect with other business owners or meet other entrepreneurs. And somebody like us who can do, we have our own factory that does food and toiletries and beauty products that can package it for people. We do the warehousing and fulfillment for them. We can even help source and all that. So there's a lot of resources like me or other people who can help an entrepreneur so they don't have to do it all themselves, which a lot of times people have to recognize what they're good at, what they're not good at, and really outsource the things they're not good at.
Well, there's Wharton School Business, which you've been through. It's hard, I think, sometimes to connect with kids in college who have a textbook in front of them, and you better teach by that textbook, and they don't realize kind of that you are a jewel in the community with all this practical experience. So how do you see, how can we have young entrepreneurs have more contact? with someone like yourself and other business members in the community?
Going to those types of places, like an 805 Startups or the Faro Center, meeting other entrepreneurs. There's a lot of organizations like that that are looking to connect people together. As we had talked that you were alluding to before, one of our challenges, it's not opportunities, it's not sales. We have more opportunities coming to us than we can even handle. It's actually having people who can run with something. And to the point where there's some like whole businesses or whole product lines that I would love to do, but really need somebody to kind of run with it. And I said, wouldn't it be great if I could find a young entrepreneur and just say, here's a piece of that business and go run it. And so that was one of the things we were talking about originally. It got you excited to say, you know, there probably are people out there, and then it's a matter of how to find them and how to build a structure that can support something like that. So partnering up with some of those other organizations is something companies can do, I think, to bridge that gap between young entrepreneurs who are looking for someone to help sort of take them from just an idea into being able to make it a reality as opposed to having to scramble and do it all on their own.
Well, I think that's really what I'd like to see happening here with a VACE X kind of, is there are so many skills that you need nowadays. That you need to know social marketing backwards and forwards, but you also need to know about restocking and what insurance costs for employees, and if they slip and fall in your place, and all those things that you had to learn, hopefully not through bad experience, but oftentimes it ends up being that way. So how would you, do you think the schools prepare people that way, or should we be developing something here at VACE that prepares people, or just throw them in and let them swim, and if they sink, then...
I think the biggest thing probably missing in an education system, one is really that practical experience, and any program that can get people doing things hands-on, like folks running the cameras right here, is fantastic, because you're not just learning about it, watching videos or reading a textbook, you're actually doing it. And that skill of whatever it is that somebody can learn how to do is way more valuable than theory. In the level of the kind of employee and people we're looking for. And the biggest thing that I always look for is critical thinking skills. And that is the one that is the hardest to find, is people who can see a situation. It doesn't matter their experience or background. They may be influenced by that. But being able to make the right decisions at the right time, or know when to make the decision, when not to make the decision, when to ask for help, when to research, that kind of thinking process is something that can be taught in schools regardless of what the specific task is. So that skill and finding methods to teach that and develop that skill, I think, would be the best thing an organization or a school can do, like this one here, to be able to prepare people for, like, when they interview with a company like ours, because I've hired preschool teachers to be account managers. They multitask, they get things done. So there's certain skills, like they didn't come with any knowledge of that, but they were able to pick it up and learn it, just given the mindset that they had developed.
Well, whenever I talk to you, there's some problem and something new you need to learn about, packaging pancake mix, or how do you bring in a machine that's taller than the height of your pretty gigantic warehouse there. So how do you keep yourself, you have resources within the company, or you've had so much experience with building this thing from one room to, I think I got lost even finding the right warehouse. So how do you keep yourself learning? How do you maintain this as a lifelong learning?
Well, we're doing so many different things. There's always learning that happens. I've learned about machinery that packages food. We've learned about processes and operations, learned technical things with IT. Eventually, the idea is you have other people that do it and run each of those jobs. But along the way, you pick up those skills, which also helps you when you're doing business development, you're talking to potential clients. If you have the detailed knowledge that allows them to trust in your company and what you're doing, that's always helpful. I listened to podcasts, which was a segment you just did earlier here, from business people. Sometimes it's not the specific content they're giving, but it's the inspiration that gets you thinking about something. I talk to other people, other business owners, learning from them. You have your kind of own sounding board of people, so you don't have to do it all yourself. Researching online, webinars, like constant learning. We actually do a lot of programs with all of our employees that are like a continuous process improvement and learning program, and I've challenged people to learn something, not necessarily specifically about the job they're doing, but about like business in general. And we even do like a once-a-month lunch where everybody comes in, whether you're packing a box or you're an executive, and the department heads talk about what it is they're doing. That way it connects everybody to understand their part they play in the whole process.
Well, the other is how big are you gone from one to how many employees now?
Probably amongst the different company entities and with temps and all that, there's probably about 70 people.
Oh, well, that's...
Yeah, between 50 and 70, depending on how busy we are.
And then you had enough space. I think you have your own temp agency. And
yeah,
stuff.
we did a very interesting deal with one of the local staffing agencies. Working with their CEO. It's actually her idea. After we did a really large project with a celebrity, that we had to have their staff help sort of organize the huge amount of staffers that were in for that project. She said, hey, we don't have an office in this specific city. We have the surrounding cities. Would it be great if we could have a satellite office here? And for us, it allows us to have one of their executives right there. So we can go downstairs and be like, hey, we need 5 more people tomorrow. One of our fulfillment clients had a big sale, and we were unexpected. And so it's a real great win-win for them and us.
Great. Well, Paul, thank you so much for what you do in the community, for helping support the Faro Center for Innovation, working with Cal Lutheran, Hub 101, Cal State Channel Islands is coming up as well. I really appreciate everything you do for this community.
Well, thank you as well. You do the same thing.
Well, Ventura, these two proud guys, I'm going to be right back. Ventura, welcome back. We used to have the Warped Band tour out here, and Grateful Dead and all those, and then people complained about people walking on their lawns and the like, and the drugs, and our emergency room physician was all worried. And what's evolved over the next 25 years, since that was 25 years ago the Grateful Dead were here, is this opioid epidemic. And it's been made very uncomfortable for physicians. As a physician, we want to treat pain properly, but physicians are really the leading diverters of drugs. And we've been taught that, you can't ignore pain, and if your patient's complaining, you need to treat it properly. And unfortunately, it's become an epidemic. And Steve is here to help us prevent our epidemic. So we ran into each other at the Faro Center for Innovation.
That's right.
Running through as fast as you could.
Yep.
And so thank you for sitting still for the 9 minutes we have together. So
thank you.
Tell us about your company, and then this focusing on the opioid epidemic.
Okay, so we're a digital health company. We mainly work in public health. So the way public health campaigns are delivered now tend to be through a broadcast medium. So we put them out on television or on billboards and radio, which have been effective in the past, but we find that more people are using their mobile devices, and less people are engaged in some of the broadcast mediums. So we wanted to develop some technology that could individualize a public health campaign for millions of people. So we use artificial intelligence or machine learning, and we use a concept called gamification, which is kind of like your airline rewards program. Mm-hmm. So when you fly, you get your points, and then you can upgrade, or even your coffee card at your local cafe where you get it punched and eventually get a free coffee. Those are all concepts of gamification. So what we wanted to do to apply that to a public health perspective and say, well, what if we use those techniques to keep people engaged in the way that they learned about their health? And that's the key to prevention. Prevention really relies on people changing their knowledge, having a desire then to change who they are or what they want to do, which then leads, as we know, to behavior change. But behavior change is tough, and particularly when you're dealing with something like the opioid epidemic, which we're we're very excited to be working with different levels of government and even here locally. And you mentioned the Vans Warped Tour, so that's been really exciting. But the opioid epidemic, you're right, Chris, it's affecting everyone now. This is the worst public health crisis in American history, and it's having a massive impact.
Well, and I think we were talking earlier, it's not just the patients who felt whatever else it was in their life that the opioids seemed to help with, the depression or anxiety or whatever beyond treating pain, but also as physicians. And so in a high volume practice, just easier to write for 50 Vicodin, 100 Valium, and see the next patient and get them out the door. So changing physician behavior.
Absolutely. And so changing physician behavior is important because, you know, the CDC came out last year with some new guidelines for physicians that said you need to write a prescription for 3 days, and we needed to lower the dosage rate of those prescriptions because the research shows that the higher the rate of prescriptions that a doctor will prescribe, the higher his, even though the dosage may not be higher, but the more people he has who get addicted. And so this is just a really interesting epidemic. So it's affecting physicians, it's affecting everyday families. I mean, it's now the leading cause of death in America. So every 16 minutes, someone in America dies from an opioid-related overdose, whether it be a prescription painkiller or heroin. 70% of young people now who are addicted to heroin got their start through prescription painkillers. In our youth, 14 to 20-year-olds, 80% of drug overdoses are accidental, and 65% of those are caused by prescription painkillers. So this is a massive problem that's affecting our society. So we wanted to combine our technology, which can individualize that engagement on a mobile device, and then we wanted to figure out a way, how do we reach a large population, and how would we get someone to download the app? I was actually talking to Paul earlier today, who was on your show earlier, and he said, how do you get people to be interested? Because we have so many apps out there, we have so many things to do. So I got a call in December from a local person here in California, a music producer by the name of Kevin Lyman, who founded the Vans Warped Tour back in 1996. It's the longest running music festival in American history. Such artists as Blink-182 and Green Day, Black Eyed Peas, Gwen Stefani, and No Doubt, and of course your own Katy Perry got their start on the Vans Warped Tour. And it averages about 500 to 700,000 kids a summer across America, 37 stops. And Kevin called us and said, look, I'm losing members of my family and my friends. You know, he was friends with Prince. He was buddies with Tom Petty. And these are people who did not want to die. These were accidental overdoses. And so what he said was, could we use your technology and figure out a new way to reach the young people who are attending the Vans Warped Tour? So we said, yeah, well, that's really interesting, because if we combine music, which is that universal language, and we combine tech, which, you know, 80-something%, almost 90% of our kids are on a mobile device, and I think on average we open it 150 times a day, so we're on it all the time. So if we could combine that with a platform that could reward people for engaging in evidence-based content and research, but then also had a streetwear brand. So we created a campaign called FIND, which stands for Full Energy, No Drugs. And it's been incredibly exciting so far. We've had just over 5,000 kids on board onto the app, even though the Vans Warped Tour hasn't started. And those who on board can win free tickets to the tour. Once they're on the tour, if they come to the FIND booth and show that they've done the learning on the app, then they get a free pass to one of 2 headlining acts, We the Kings or Water Parks. So the cool thing about the app is that it's called Preventum, and they onboard onto the FIND campaign. And as they learn about opioids, they earn points. And then they can cash those points in for either money can't buy experiences, like standing on the side of the stage of one of their favorite bands, or some cool fin gear. And as they learn, they're earning those points, but they're learning about things that are relevant. You know, how to spot an overdose. What are the signs of an overdose? What do I do in case of an overdose? How do I get help? What happens if I mix fentanyl, which is not a party drug? It's 40 times more addictive than heroin. But what happens if I mix that with, you know, an allergy medicine? Well, I'm going to overdose and die. But we don't know that, and our young people are not getting that in drug classes in high school. And so our goal is to provide that education, to arm them. And FIND is about creating a movement where they take a stand against opioids. So it's not a top-down, curriculum-based, it's more of a grassroots campaign. And that's what we're really excited about.
Well, we're very excited too. As a physician, one of the things we're doing at Ventura County Medical Center is we're looking what is the natural course of a pain requiring, and because our physicians need that kind of information. So when we talk to a patient, so we have about 30 seconds left. What's your message? So we've got FIND.
Well, come out to Van's Warped Tour. Van's Warped Tour, its fourth stop this year is in Ventura at the fairgrounds on June 24th. So those of you who haven't gotten your tickets, please do so. Come by the FIND tent. Come say hello. Learn about opioids. Download the Preventum app. Spread the word because it's an effort to really make a stand against opioids.
And are you going to be doing any local advertising in newspapers? And
I think the Warped Tour.
podcasting,
I think
radio?
the Warped Tour does. We're a small nonprofit, so we don't have an advertising budget, and this is it. So thank you for the opportunity.
All right. So Ventura, it's time for you to unfortunately have to learn about how to deal with opioid overdoses. So Ventura, it's time for you to get moving.